139th contact. Tuesday, October 21, 1980, 11:38 am. Billy says you've actually come with your new box. It looks quite impressive. What technical innovations does it have to exhibit? Samjase says you're rather disrespectful in reference to our technology. I'm proud of this aircraft. With its new drive, which I will explain a little to you later, I have better possibilities than Father with his great spacer. Also, with this device, it is possible for me to dive directly into the past or future, but also to penetrate into other dimensions. The flight from my home world to Earth is reduced with this new aircraft to 0 time, which I will also explain to you at a later time. Billy says then this is a humdinger. Samjase says certainly, even for us. Billy says then that means quite a lot. Samjase says certainly. Billy says and is this the box that I may soon photograph? Samjase says of course, I spoke of this aircraft. Billy says and is this now standard type? Samjase says this aircraft is still a prototype, at least still for a week. After that, 350 units of the same kind will have already been shipped. This type of aircraft will gradually replace all other existing types of devices, thus, it'll become the standard type, as you said. In addition, the diameter amounts to 7 meters in size, like the existing aircraft of this type. What can also be mentioned even further is that the next 3 size classes of our present aircraft will also be replaced by this type, but they will differ in their sizes, which explains itself. They will include the sizes of 14, 21, and 28 meters, which will increase directly with planetary interests. We should already receive the first larger ships in less than a month. Billy says today, you really tell me some news. Can I also capture this on film? Samjase says I have only received permission for my own ship. Billy says does this mean that I can only ever capture a ship on film? Samjase says if I receive no other permission, then yes. Billy says also good, at least this, and this is quite impressive. Samjase says it might be possible for you that you can take good close-ups. Billy says and what about the sounds? Samjase says that is also possible. Billy says fine, then the cake is, indeed, baked. Samjase says you speak nearly as well as earlier, before you began to neglect your psyche through all the annoyance. It means so much to me that you are on the way to health improvement. In return, I only hope that no more setbacks will appear with the group members or by any other means that could endanger or destroy this health progress again, for you would react extremely sensitively to the slightest little thing in your present condition, as I already explained to you in our last conversation. Although the entire leadership method of the individual group members allows for no such conclusion or supposition, we have, nevertheless, learned that nothing is impossible when it comes to committing reckless and wrong actions. All too quickly, several of the group members forget that their own thoughts and actions very often lead to degeneration and bad, wrong actions, which usually produces bad consequences for which they then aren't able to bear the responsibility anymore. But as already explained, it can be concluded from the present situation that such negative blunders and errors won't appear again soon. We arrived at this acceptance based on the test results which were unexpectedly much higher than our assumption was. After all the events of recent years, it was expected that no single group member would receive a score higher than 1 point on the test. But this was a false assumption of ours because the best score was 4.5 points, while the lowest was 1.6. It might be because of the intensive study in recent weeks, but that alone doesn't explain these high scores. This means that in all the past years and months, a rather large amount of knowledge must have prevailed in the various group members, but this, in whatever form, makes it incomprehensible that ongoing gross violations, wrong actions, and disregards of all kinds have appeared. Here we are, faced with an absolute mystery, because it is completely illogical that a life form disposes of a fairly enormous amount of knowledge and knows the truth, but that same life form can still act completely wrong. Billy says this is also a mystery to me, not just you. I have already often tried to get to the bottom of this mystery, but so far, in vain. Samjase says we will fathom this in the course of time, but we cannot proceed, however, in our usual manner. The complete illogic of the group members in their thinking and acting places us before a tremendous task. For such tests, we also analyzed many other people of Earth and discovered the unfortunate and incomprehensible fact that also with them, the same illogical forms appear, but not in such a pronounced way as with the group members. According to our first results, this may be due to the fact that these other tests don't come from people who are confronted with the truth and knowledge in such a way as with the group members, who seem to be, to a large degree, very lofty towards outsiders. Any factor lies in the fact that they, on account of their attained knowledge, have become of the faith that they are worth more than outsiders and that they are, thus, enabled to make their own decisions and implement them, which, unfortunately, then leads to wrong thoughts and actions. By their adulthood, they have become aware that they have a different form of learning ability than what their children, in contrast to them, have. They do not bring your old word into constant remembrance, but they must become like little children, otherwise, the kingdom of the Spirit will remain closed to them. Billy says, oh, I have said that many times before, but it has only been understood by a few. Samjase says then you should perhaps explain this once again, especially now, because everything starts to turn to the advantage of all and because now, every single group member can truly strive. Billy says I will follow your advice. Samjase says good, because it is of necessity. Billy says yes, but now, one more question about the next tests. When should these be? Samjase says at the end of this month or at the beginning of next month. Billy says then it can still be before the last or after the first day of the month. Samjase says sure, at the same time, I already thought of Sunday, which will be coming. Billy says human child, then you should immediately dictate the necessary questionnaire to me. Samjase says this still has time until Friday, for there won't be many questions. Billy says also good, and I'll still keep to my study. It's really good for me, even though I'm usually quite groggy afterwards. Samjase says I am glad to hear that from you. But now, I still have to discuss the various matters with you, which are intended for you alone. However, it will take at least 2 hours. Billy says I have enough time, so just open fire. The end.